Hey, hey, what's up, y'all? We are back with another episode of Your Divine Glow. And you already know, we already got another special guest in the building tonight. Well, today, whenever you're listening to this, I want to introduce our guest. She is a author, podcaster, aspiring life coach, and a future human services graduate. Her calling is encouraging people to know that there is a greater you on the inside of you. Her mission is to focus on finding true happiness, fulfillment, and value within ourselves to be able to live our best lives. I want to introduce to the show Miss Nyesha Bridges. Woo, 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 woo. Welcome to the show, my girl. Welcome. Right. Thank you. That was way better. I love that. We need that. Welcome to the show.
I am so happy. First, I know I'm probably stepping out of order. I apologize, Ashley, but I just want to say thank you so much. I am honored to be a guest, like I expressed to you in my email.
Yes.
And I am just uber proud of you. Like for real, girl. You doing your thing. And I'm happy to see it and be connected to it.
Oh, I'm blessed to have you in my orbit, in my circle. Like, thank you so much. I'm proud of you too, girl. Like, we're both out here just doing the damn thing. And listen, we just following in God's steps. That's all we doing.
Right. You already know. I think period.
Right. So I am so excited to have this conversation today. It's another one of, and it's very much you. I was like, because I always think about the topics and, just being new to the podcasting space. I'm like, okay, what do we talk about? What we do? What we're doing?
Right.
And of course, I had to bring you in to talk about embracing authenticity and just finding your true self, your true voice and purpose. Like you are the one. So I just want to dive on in and this is like right up your alley. So it's like, did I even need to send you questions at this point? Like, I feel like you already know how to answer these and get it popping. But let's see. But I guess to start off, I want to take it back to the very beginning as usual and just see like what really led you to really entrepreneurship, but then being able to help other people find their true voice in entrepreneurship. Like what was that pivotal moment for you that was like, yeah, this is what I need to be doing?
So, and I'm learning, right? I'm learning even in this journey, right? That sometimes I can be so quick to answer a question, right? Because I'm like, oh, like what sounds good? What sounds poetic? Like what do people want to hear, right? So I'm learning that I have to actually pause, right? Really listen to the question, right, that is being asked, and kind of take it in. Before answering, right, so that's my new quest. That's the I think the other layer of this unmasking journey that I am doing. But when I sit here and I kind of think about the moment, like that pivotal moment for me, I remember it was, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was in 2019. I had kind of just kind of was really coming out of like a real dark space. Right. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do more. And I wanted to be able to be the first partaker of what that looked like. Right. Which was very scary. And I remember just being at church. It was at the end of a service. I can't remember what was the purpose, why we were in service, why I was in church. I do just remember being in church and having a conversation with my spiritual father. And he said something to me to have me think about, like what I wanted to do or where was I going next. Right. Because I had just transitioned from my job that I was at for like about a year and a half. And I felt like I was kind of like in limbo, like, all right, Nyesha, what are we doing next? Like, what are we doing next? But still wanting it to be purpose filled and still wanting to be in alignment, right, with God, and not kind of wanting to just like hop and skip around like I've been used to doing. So I really didn't know how to answer his question when he asked me, and I can't remember what it was, but for some reason, what has stuck with me, right? And I feel like God did that on purpose, that it stuck with me. I left from the service and I said, "Ha, it's putting action behind my yes." And my yes, giving it to God, right? First and foremost. So putting him first in any and everything that
Yeah.
I decide to do, right? On this journey, right? Because at this point, I'm still writing my book. Right, but it's still very uncomfortable. It's still hard. Right. It's not finished at all. But I know in order for me to get finished, right,
Mhm.
I have to be able to put action behind my yes. So
Mhm.
what I did was I said, okay, for 2020, now this was the end of the year of 2019. And I said, for 2020, I said, you know what? I'm going to do a podcast to hold me accountable. Right. So not only am I going to start and begin to share my truth and share my story, I'm going to also bring other people in because I know I'm not the only one. Right.
Mm.
So I feel like that pivotal moment, like I said, was it was me acknowledging that it was time for me to put action
Yeah.
behind my yes that I had given to God in
Mhm.
2007. Right. But just kind of like not knowing what to do and where to go and how to get there and
Right.
wearing two faces 1 minute and having this face this minute, right? Like
Yeah.
it was like, okay, enough is enough. We're
Right.
here now. What we gonna
Right.
do? Right.
12.
So that was that moment of it was putting action behind my yes, which I say all the time now. It's kind of like engraved in my heart. And I
Mm.
always have to go back to that moment and remember my why when I'm like, all right, I don't know how I'm
Yeah.
feeling
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 12 years went by, and in those 12 years, you were not saying your yes.
at
Woo.
all. At
Wow.
all, Ashley. But
Wow.
thinking that I was though,
Yeah.
right? Like, cause I'm going to church, I'm
Yeah.
showing up, I'm good to people.
Mhm.
I'm a good person.
Yeah.
Right? Like so for me, that was my yes. But it wasn't because I was still being disobedient. I was still living in fear. I was still hiding behind a mask, wearing being able to kind of like change, like somebody would ask me how I feel. Oh,
Mm.
I'm great. Oh, yeah. But suffering in silence.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
yes. So, all that time, I really wasn't being my true, authentic self. Right. I was
Mm.
being what everybody else wanted me to be. Right. When they wanted me to be it. Right. It
Yeah.
was that people
Yeah.
pleasing. Right. And that's when I decided, like I said, in 2019, like, no more, Nyesha. Like, it was kind of like, it was that, like, that tug of like, you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. Because I
Right.
feel like it's been times that I've tried to kind of tap into it, but
Mhm.
again, that fear will rise in. I'm like, oh, no, retreat, back
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
then it was like, but it was like, it was time.
Yeah.
Like, and I
Yeah.
just went for it.
Yeah. That to me right there is making me think about like what coming out of that 12-year cycle, right? What was that moment for you and like to even like unmask fully? Like was it on the podcast? Was it just like in that moment by yourself writing your book or was it to an actual person like in your home? Like what was that like that moment for you? And like did I can only imagine like when you unmasking in that moment, that first time though, is like falling tears. Like just like you don't it's to the point where I feel like I would black out like for real and just be
Yeah, for
like
real.
that like can you describe that for us? Like what that
Um,
was?
yeah, absolutely. So what I am gonna say is it wasn't just a moment.
Yeah,
Right? Like I say, I have, I always say hashtag unmasking moment,
yeah,
right? Because that's what it is, right? But it's a continuous
yes.
unmasking process.
Yeah.
Like it didn't just stop, right? Like
Mhm.
so the first time, yes, I said, okay, I'm coming up from underneath the mask, right? To say I'm putting action behind my yes, right? And
Mhm.
what that really looked like, it was very uncomfortable. It
Mhm.
was very it was kind of ugly,
Mhm.
right? To be honest, with you, very traumatizing,
Mhm.
right? Because it's so much easier to put back on the mask,
Right.
right, than to actually take it off, right? Because when you decide to take it off, you're saying, here I am. I open up myself, not just to the world, but to myself, right? So now I have to self reflect and
Ooh,
sit in what is hurting me, what
yeah.
is bothering me, what does not make me feel good, right? And not counting myself out, but also being okay with not being okay. So you got all this stuff
Hmm.
going on,
Yeah,
right? And it feels like you're in a whirlwind of chaos. Literally. It
yeah,
literally feels like you're in a tornado, right? But when I think about a storm and I think about a tornado, it has to end.
yes.
It
It
has
has
to
to.
end.
Everything has an expiration date.
Everything. But it
Yeah,
does not mean that it won't come back around.
right, right. That is
So
very
that's
true.
what I'm learning. I'm learning that, right, even through this unmasking journey and this process that I'm going through, it's a forever journey. It does not end, right? And I say that in my book too as well, that
Mm,
unmasking yourself is a continuous journey that you
yeah,
have to be willing to go through, right? Because there's layers, right? Like I
yes.
just had revelation, right? I was talking to my spiritual father, and he was saying, he's been thinking about me a lot. And he said to me, he said, you went through the unmasking, process, right? Like you unmasked, meaning that you acknowledged, right, all
Mm,
those things that you have been through and that have went through and things that have hurt you and all that good stuff, right?
yeah,
So a part of you lose an identity, right?
right.
You lose who you were
Yeah,
before,
yes.
right? So now you have to ask yourself, well, who is Nyesha?
Mm, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
No, no,
I
no, go ahead, go ahead. You
Because
you
like
the host.
you mentioned that like yes, we die to our old self, but like even just the fact of us lying to ourselves this whole time, right? Like, we get so comfortable in the lie and we take that on like, yup, this is me. This is who I am to the core. And then until one day something or someone, right, checks you. They show you like, yeah, I guess not. like I've been lying to myself the whole time. Like that that is like the world the world around you just literally crushes. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like I'm happy that at least you had that moment because we wouldn't really know you. And like you wouldn't really be on this path of where you're going right now cuz honestly like like they say like God can't bless like the false you or like he blesses the real you, and honestly whatever like he who he called us to be is on that path, and who we think that we are or pretend to be, he can't bless that, like, but he can never, he doesn't know that person. He's like, I didn't create you to be this. What is this? So
Exactly.
it's really eye opening to even like, I mean, I've heard your story many of times, but every time it's like so different, right?
Yeah.
And I learn more and more each time you say it. I'm like, oh, she left that part out. I remember that. But for those who are listening for the first time, like, I just want them to understand too. Like, let's talk more about your book because I feel like that's, of course, the core of where you speak about your journey and how you got here so far. So let the people know like what's the name of your book and really what can they expect from it.
So the name of my book is Unmasking the Covered Me. Why I am who I am. Right. And the real reason why I really decided to, write my book was because I finally realized that I'm really not alone.
Mm,
Right. And then also, really wanting to show people that there is a greater you on the inside of you,
hmm.
right? But the first person who really has to realize that is you, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, everybody, and when I say everybody has told me how great I am, how good of a person I am, how loving, how caring, look up I feel like, you can look up all the adjectives, the beautiful adjectives in the dictionary, right? And one has been said about Nyesha,
Mm,
right? But understanding that Nyesha never really felt like that, right? But no one would ever have known that that's how I felt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was never really being honest,
Yeah.
right? So, my thing is to really show and really to show people that you are able to uncover yourself, right? You're able to unveil, you are able to speak your truth, right? Everyone, we all have a story, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can show the good, the bad, and the ugly of that, right? And there's still beauty for ashes through all of what you have been through all of what you continue to go through, right? But understanding that there's also a process that we have to go through, right?
Right.
And I wanted to just kind of show people and bring awareness to what my process looked like. It does not mean that everybody's process is going to be the same, right? But
Mm-hmm.
understanding that process is necessary. And
Yeah.
in order for us to get to greater, right? I know we always have that saying, trust the process, right? Like I feel like sometimes it can be so cliche because like, do you really trust the process?
Right.
Right? Like, is it that easy to trust the process?
Yeah.
Right. So I wanted to show people that I don't want to just show you the glory. I wanted to show you the story behind
Mm-hmm.
of all of what I went through, of all even what I'm continuing to go through.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm always willing to sit down and have a real conversation with people, right? Because I feel like it brings that comfortability of knowing like, wow, if she could do it, why can't I?
Right. It
Like I
shows.
could do this.
Yeah.
Right. So I want people to really, what I'm saying, tap into, learning how to be your true authentic self. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not sitting here on no pedestal right now. I'm still learning how to be the true Nyesha. I'm still learning, okay, what does it mean to show up for Nyesha? I go back to that question that you asked me 2 weeks ago, Ashley. That's been sitting with me.
Mm.
Because I really I want to honor what God has given me, right?
Yeah.
But I want to honor it for me first. I want
Right.
to be the first partaker of what I am, giving out, what God has given to me to pour out into other people and to show people to be the 3 B's, right? And that's to be you.
Mm-hmm.
That's to be, to be real, to be honest, but most importantly, to be you. Be who
Mm-hmm.
you've been called to be.
Right.
Don't
Right.
conform. Don't conform to what the world says you're supposed to be. Nah, you need to be you.
Yes, yes. I listen, I was going to ask you because I know like even yes, us as like me as a coach and like you as an aspiring coach and like podcaster and all the things, it's like we're not perfect. We don't have all the answers, but we just take our experiences and we divulge that to you, and we could only have our own perspective of how we would navigate that if you were in our shoes or vice versa, because the people that we do serve and that listen to us on some level obviously can relate, and like you said, none of our journeys are the same. Definitely not. They could be parallel. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like I've always said that they could be parallel, but they will never ever not be the same. And I think that it's important. I know you have said this a million times, like we go through to bring through and all the things. And it's very true because, our story could be someone else's survival guide at the end of the day. And it's like, we are here to pick up the ones that are feeling like lost or just confused and feel like there's no hope. And, we're here to support you. We're here to guide you. And really, like you said, if I can do it, you can do it. Like
Word.
we could do it together, and
Yes.
know that you're not alone. Because a lot of the times, especially if people are around us that they may not understand or they like are, they just feel distant. It's like you do feel alone. You're like, man, like I seriously like there's no one around me that really is in my position, and that's where you have to find your community, and that's really important. So I love the fact that you actually put your story in a book. Like
Yeah.
that takes courage, and I know it's like one of many because I'm sure I feel like you have a lot of books within you. It's just get them.
Yeah.
Just get
Right,
them.
right.
Right. So I'm just happy that it's out there, and I really do hope that people get to purchase it now until the end of time, because it's
Yes.
I've read it myself and it really got to open my eyes to, of course, to more of your journey and what you've been through. And it's just like, wow, like you overcame all of that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And to see you here today is like, well, dang, like,
Right.
you definitely would never think that, so to say that, I want to go into my next question of just
Yeah.
like, how do you manage those internal struggles now, like today? I know you're still learning and we're growing every day, but how do you currently manage those internal struggles when it comes to being authentic?
It's not even it's not deep at all. I tap into my accountability people
Mm,
who I'm able to, oh, I need to tap in because you can't do it by yourself. I've learned that on this journey.
mhm.
Um that when you try to stuff and pack your emotions and your feelings and things that you go through on a daily basis, because again, like I said, there's always things are going to come up,
Yeah,
right? You're going to feel things. You're human. Like those feelings just don't go nowhere, right? Okay, it's not that okay. I done unmasked to the world. I'm a podcaster. I bring people on, and I'm good. Wrong. No, I still go through things,
right.
right? But what I've learned is that because the old Nyesha would definitely keep everything in, right? Like
Mm,
I can do this on my own. No, that's the problem. You keep trying
yeah,
to do it on your own,
right.
right? So I have people that I'm able to tap into when it's time to kind of iron some things out, or when I'm feeling some type of way, like I gotta tap in. Prayer is my number one go to,
Hmm.
right? Because I do have, a few, right, and it's like my main three, but I always pray first. Like, who do
Yeah,
I need to have this conversation with? Like, and my prayers are not all deep. I ask God, who do I need to go to? Who do I need to tap into? Because right now, I'm not feeling it. I'm not
yeah,
feeling good right now.
yeah,
I'm a hot mess right
right,
now.
right.
Right. So understanding that, and I even had to, just going back to what you asked me right before this was off the podcast. This was a few weeks ago when you asked me that question, right? And when I really sat and thought about like my initial response to you, I was all over the place, actually. Like I was, and you even had to hold me back in. You were like, no, okay, that's all good. You were so sweet too, by the way. That's all good, right? But I want to know, like, how are you showing up for you,
Yeah.
right? And when I tell you that question has set with me for the past 3 weeks, it really has.
Mm,
Finally got clear revelation last Tuesday as I was journaling and writing,
mm,
right, which I kind of stopped doing, right, and
mm,
that was a huge part of also how I was able to kind of go forth with, in my journey, right, and even with writing my book, right, was
yeah.
journaling, right. That's how my book turned into a book,
Mm,
journal,
mm,
right. And what I said was, understanding what it means to show up for Nyesha is going to God first, so He can be the distributor of me, right?
mm,
Because for me, I had all these other ideas. Like showing up for me is going to be like, okay, I'm going to get on live more, or I'm going to do a to do list. I'm going to do this task list, right? It was all the other things. And God was nowhere in it. God was
mm,
nowhere in it when I said showing up, what showing up for Nyesha looked like. Nowhere. And
mm.
I had to get pulled back, set down, and allow myself to really feel it, to understand, like, I gotta tap back into where I was. It's going back to my why. Why did you give your yes?
Right, right. Wow. Yeah, he's definitely, well, first of all, he's gonna lead you. Like, he should always be our first person, first guy. Like, not even just when we're in trouble, right? Like
Right.
when we wake up in the morning. Every morning I wake up, my eyes pop open. I'm like, thank you, God. Like,
Yep.
that's the first thing I say.
Yep.
I may not even say it most days, like not most days, but like sometimes because my voice don't be really working in the morning like that. So I say it in my head at least
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
at least I acknowledge, like
Right.
thank you God for waking me up. I step out of bed, thank you God, because it's like He should never be our last resort. he should never be like an afterthought. Like, oh, well, let me, like you said, go on live. Let me have my to-do list. Let me do bang, bang, boom. Let me go here, there, everywhere, hang out with the gang.
Yep.
No, like, let me,
All
hold on,
that.
hold on. Like, where's God though? Where he at though? Like, I don't, we gotta figure out too, like when we're going about our day, what does he want us to do? You know, is I know sometimes we may wake up and be like, oh, hey, it's Sunday. I'm gonna go to church. I'm gonna go to brunch because that's what I want to do.
Right.
But what does God want you to do? Maybe God want, yes, you go to church, but does he want you to go to brunch? Or maybe you need to attend, maybe get ready for the week. You know, maybe you got some things to attend to there, and then your week will flow a little bit better. You know, like these are things that we got to check ourselves on. And it's like, I'm happy that you were able to definitely take that time to reflect and be like, wait, I'm not doing something that I usually do before. Like something's missing. You know, you always have that feeling like, "Oh, something's not right. But what
Yep.
is it?" And that's what it was, the
It
journaling.
was. It
And then God,
was.
listen.
It was, and he always, I feel like God always, I'm probably not the only one, but I always feel like, right? Because I'm your special. Right? I feel like he always shows me that he could tell me.
Mm, mm,
Right. So there's just been a lot of like different things happening, right, and I'm just always just like moving, right, being wife, being mom, going to work, doing
yeah,
ministry, doing this, doing that, right, like I'm moving, and he's like, where am I in all of this moving around? Like, where am I?
yeah,
Like, why am I not in the center of it all?
yeah.
If you allow me to be the center like you have done before, right,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll give you the capacity to be able to do all of what you need to do. But because you're
Yeah.
trying to go on your own will and your
Mm,
own way, you're in
yeah.
my way.
Yes. I think this is a revelation for me too.
You're in my way.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay, you want to be in my way? Have at it.
Right, right.
But
Listen.
see, he's so faithful that he still
Mm-hmm.
loves us, that he
Yes.
still, gives us grace, right?
Mm-hmm.
He still honors us as his children, right? As his daughters, right? So he'll never let us go too far. He's omnipresent. He's always around, right? So
Right.
even though I've been in his way, right, he doesn't completely say, "Ugh, I'm just gonna let her go."
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
he still brings me back to
Yeah.
remember why I
Yeah.
gave my yes.
Right. Right. He's so loving. I love him.
I really
I
do. And then we
love him.
always have like these conversations. I feel like, even though we're on a podcast, right? And, it'll be recorded and it'll be on live and all that. I just feel like our conversations are always kind of like this. Like they're just like so genuine,
Yeah.
right? And allowing us to really just be our authentic selves, but also the transparency is just
Mhm.
like epic,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I really cherish because you don't come across it a lot of the times in people. So I cherish all this all the time. And it's like
Really.
you don't even get to talk about God as open like as you can, like this, or you should. You know, there's always like a little, I don't know, some weird energy around it sometimes
Yeah.
depending
Yeah.
on people, but you
Hmm.
know, I love the sisterhood of like just I don't want to call it Christhood, but in a way, that's what it is. I know
Yep.
there's a word for it, but that's what I'm gonna call it.
Yep. Yep. Listen. Yep.
But I really
Kingdom,
yes.
something. Somebody,
Like
somebody, something.
well, shout out to Latoya Okia because I love her as
I
a
love her.
life coach. She honestly she was on live like last week, I think. So she has her series Kingdom Connections, and I'm like, yes, that's what it's called for her. But I'm gonna just snag that. I'm like, yes, that is Kingdom Connections for
It
real.
is.
So
It is for real.
yeah, shout out. If y'all don't know Latoya Okia, like y'all are missing out. I
For
need y'all
real.
to look her up. She is very, very dope. She is definitely all about faith, God, and really just building up people for the kingdom of God. And I love her. She don't know me. She don't.
Right, she don't know neither one of us, but
No.
she is true. She is dope. She was like
Yeah.
with the devil with your ugly self.
Yes. She don't play. She don't play.
She don't play.
No.
She don't play. She don't
But
play.
yeah, she has her community called the Divine Ones, and
Yes.
I love. I'm happy to say, listen, I'm a Divine One too, so
Yes.
I love it over there. But I definitely want to really segue into another question that I had before I forget, because you know how I be. I was like, oh, slip my mind. I want to know, how do you hear from God? Because I feel like that's a question that I haven't really asked anyone. Because a lot of the time, Jay, we say, oh, well, something spoke to me or I had a nudge. But like, how do you personally hear from God, and how you knew that, hey, I have to sit down and get right?
That's a really good question. And if I can be really honest, sometimes I question whether or not I'm hearing him or am I hearing myself. Right.
Sorry. Mm.
So I feel like for me, what I've been doing, right, and this is kind of like just starting, right, for me, especially now, like on this new quest and this the continuing journey of unmasking. I definitely pray. And I write, right? So most of the time when I really want to kind of really connect, I begin to write,
Mm.
right? And I begin to write, and it's kind of like me, right? Because I can hear my thoughts. And then all of a sudden, I really feel like Holy Spirit really begins to take over the pen. And
Mm.
it's like and I just begin to get like chills on
Mm.
my body, and I'm just writing, and I'm just writing, and I'm just writing. And then I
Mm.
go back and I read it. And it's kind of like I feel like what Holy Spirit was saying to me, right? And now I'm writing it out on paper.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really feel like when I really sit and allow myself to be completely open, Holy Spirit does begin to speak because I'm willing to listen.
Is it like, for you, do you read it back, and do you remember at least that you wrote it?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah. But
I do.
sometimes I feel like, I mean, I've come across, there's a lot of spiritual people in the world. I mean, we're all spiritual beings having a human experience.
Right.
Let's just be real.
Yep.
So there's people that, you know, we talk about stuff like that, and if they hear it, they're like, Holy Spirit took over the pen. Oh my God. You know, like, but it's nothing to be scared of. Like,
Right.
things, listen, we're out here in spiritual warfare every day. Like,
Every day.
you know, it's beyond the physical, you know? So it's like, you know, some people, they do write, and it's just like sometimes they remember, they don't. And it's like it's based off the level of connection that they have, you know, with God and Holy
Yep.
Spirit. And it's just like, I just everybody's experience is different, you
Yep.
know? And so I just question that, cuz I know for me too, like, when I'm more in tune, right, with, if and I know that, like, the Holy Spirit is present, like, and especially God, like, when I'm spending that time, I kid you not, Nyesha, like, the right side of my body just gets chill. It's just goosebumps, right, just right on the right side. My left side will be normal, feeling good, but I could just tell, like, oh, this is different. Like, you
Yep.
know, and it's nothing weird, or like, a lot of people think it's just odd how, oh, well, that's voodoo, or like that.
Right.
No, like, this is real. Like, our ancestors have experienced this. Like, yes, some I can identify and go deeper into, like,
Right.
witchcraft and all that
And all that
stuff.
stuff. Right. 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 Right.
However, like, it's just a different experience when you're in the presence of God.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you just know, and it's just like, you. I think the more that you're in that that space, the more of the signs or like the feelings that you get, that you're like, oh yeah, I'm with you right here. Like I
Yeah.
know you're here. The times that like you be crying in your bed, you know he's there, like
Yeah.
just holding you. Like I got you. You
Yep.
know, you like you and you sob even harder because you know he holding you and he holding you down.
Yes.
Like it's just different. It's
It
just
is.
different.
It
But
really is.
I really am like happy that like you are in that space to know that, you know, because it takes experience. It takes a long time to even register like, oh, this is him and this is not him,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
um but it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people too are still like, even me, trying to still figure out like, okay, is this God speaking or the other?
Yeah,
Because
because I feel like too, like sometimes what happens is, especially it just depends on the situation too, right? Like really, like what's going on, right? Is this something that I'm really fearful of, right? Because I can just be all in the way of that,
yeah,
right? And then I'm kind of like, it's like I feel like I'm hearing, but I'm not hearing. So I'm gonna go with the side of, to me, the one that it just makes more sense if it's this way,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But somebody, and I can't remember, I was listening to a sermon, but they were saying something along the lines of like if it's making sense to you, right?
Mhm.
Most of the time, that's not it,
Oh,
right?
I
But if
know.
it doesn't, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense, right? If you have no money in the bank, right? But you feel this nudge to go look at property.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, why
Right,
would I do
right,
that? That's not logical, right?
right.
Yes, but God, he'll do things that don't make sense.
You're right. You are so right. And I'd be like, nah, like what? No, definitely not. Like
So
I
that's the battle. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like that's the battle, but it's up to us believers, you know what I'm saying,
Mhm.
of when we're ready to kind of be able to tap into that relationship with
Right.
him, right? But
Yeah.
again, that's also too a forever journey. It's just like us being children, right? We have to grow up, right? We mature into adulthood, right? And then even in being in adulthood, you're still learning things, right?
Yeah.
So it's no different in your relationship and in your growth in kingdom, right? In your relationship with God and what that
Yeah.
kind of looks like.
Right.
Every day I'm still, I feel like I'm a little kid because I'm like, God, where are
Yeah.
you? Are you
Right.
here?
Right.
Dad, like what's going on? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
always kind of like talking, and when you think of relationship, right? You have to learn one another.
Yeah.
But you gotta talk. You gotta speak. Right? You can't be
Yeah.
in a relationship and not speak because you'll never know the person.
That will never work. That will never work. Yeah, it's the thing about like he's teaching us about ourselves all the time. Because he made us. So he already know when we lying and when we cheating ourselves and doing God knows what. So that's why, we have to find our true voice, our true selves, and be able to stand proud in who we really are and called to be, because a lot of society is like, especially nowadays, you gotta, especially as women, like let's talk about that for a minute. As women, you gotta look a certain way. You gotta have this, that, a Birkin bag, and the third. And it's like, that's not who God called me to be. If God wanted me to have the bubble butt, He would have made me with one with the Coke
Yep.
bottle shape. Like He would
Word.
have had the lashes on my. I mean, I love lashes. Don't get me wrong, but listen, I love my lashes, but some of them are outrageous. It's
Yeah.
just like, if He wanted that on you, He would have made that on. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Yeah.
my basis. It's like I want the natural you, to like that, who you honor on, like you don't have to switch up. For the women, you don't have, even for the men, you don't have to switch up. The way
Yep.
God made you, the authentic, true you is fire. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's so dope. Like, it doesn't mean that no, you can't get your lashes done, you can't get your nails done. Da, da, da. I'm not saying that. I do
Right.
it. But I'm just saying, don't go too far ahead and be like, well, I'm not. I'm not attractive or I'm nothing if I don't have these
without,
things.
yep.
So that's where I want to like really at least spread the message, because I think a lot of us in society, it's a lot of self-hate, and it's sad to see, because it's just a lot of people are putting so much pressure on themselves, and especially for the kids these days, you know what I'm saying? Like they're in school, they feel like they gotta like I know the school year is popping off, right? So like these kids are asking for expensive book bags because they friends got them, and you're like, no, little Johnny, we not getting a $50 backpack. Like,
Exactly.
what do you need that for? Like, you know what I
Never.
mean?
Right. Yep.
But I'm gonna get off that high horse because that,
So, yeah, because that's a whole podcast in itself. Okay.
yes, yes. But I mean, but you get the point. It's
I
just
get it. I get the point. I get
yeah,
it. Trust me, I
yeah.
do. I
But
got you.
it's like it's just so sad to see. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
navigate to your podcast because
Mhm.
I mean, that's I'm like I said, like I've said it off camera. I mean, you've been in there for like 3-4 years already. Like you the OG podcaster in my opinion, you know what I'm saying? So
Actually gives me a lot of credit.
listen,
Woo.
I've been here watching and I've been here riding with you. So it's like,
Right,
come on.
right, right.
You
All
need to
right,
give yourself credit.
right.
So I want to know, like, we talked about how your podcast came to be. You know, you said yes, and you wanted to shine a light, well, have a platform for other people to really tell their story and amass themselves on your platform. So, how has that really tied in to your entrepreneurial journey and really being able to stay on point with your authenticity? Like, how has that impacted you in a way, especially bringing the guests on?
I feel like my podcast really holds me accountable, right? It holds me accountable in a way of me really wanting to honor, like, being real, right? Like, because I can't sit on a platform, right, and say that I'm unmasking the covered me, but then when I turn the camera off, I'm a completely different person. Right.
Mhm.
So I feel like it goes back to, again, right, in 2019, when I said I'm going to put action behind my yes. That's a continuous thing that I'm constantly always making sure that I want to not live up to for people. Again, it's for me.
Yeah.
It's for me.
Yeah.
Right? Like this unmasking journey, and unmasking myself, uncovering, unveil, all of this is for me. Right? But then it's, again, to bring awareness, to show people that you are able to do it.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like it allows me to really hold myself accountable, because even when I do put back, I feel like I put back on a mask, like, "Ooh, all right, Nyesha, are we wearing a mask in that moment? Or what we doing?" Right.
Right.
So then I'm like, all right, now it's all right, go back to the drawing board, self-reflection time. Right. Because you can't get in front of a camera and say that you're doing one thing, but then off camera, you're doing something completely opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. This
So it's just
not
accountability for myself.
yeah. Yeah. It's you can't you can't really at all live for other people. And I love that at least, you found that lane for you to, it's like at the end of the day, it's a tool for you. That's what it
Yes.
is. And yes, you're giving other people the opportunity to unmask as well. So it's like a 2 for 1. Like you do it for yourself, but you're like, no, like I want other people to in on this and be able to do this. I guess the question would be for you too, is like, how do you find your guests? Because it's like, when you come on your platform, you have to be willing to really be vulnerable, like, and really put yourself out there, and it's not for everybody. So has there been like times that you have asked people and then they were like, I don't know about this, and can you like explain how that process goes?
Yeah. So, because I do my podcast once a month, which, probably So no, I'm going to put it out there right now. Next season, which will start in January, is definitely going to be different.
Mhm.
God has given me another charge, and expanding and doing more, too. So usually what I do is you like during the year, right, I'm like kind of, praying about, who should be my next guest. Most of the sometimes, I'm seeing people and they're posting different things, right? And they're kind of unmasking themselves and don't even realize that they're unmasking themselves. And then I
Mhm.
reach out,
Yeah.
right? I have people have been really receptive, right, so far, to being a guest. There has been a time where I literally had to, no, it was, I think twice that I had to pivot and I had to make the decision whether or not I was going to pivot, right? Whether I was going to be stuck in fear of, well, I don't have a guest. I can't go on. Why not? You're the face. Evidently, I always say, I got this thing now with, you know, certain things are not for my rejection, but it's for my protection, right? So understanding that, you know, evidently God wanted me to unmask myself alone, right? But it was me that had to decide whether or not I was going to remain in that fear and say, oh, no, because I don't have my guests. And they decided that they couldn't do it no more, that I'm not going to go on live, right? I
Yeah.
had to make a decision to pivot and decide, you know what, I'm going to still show face whether I have a guest or not, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that's the kind of, so I usually I have my guests already by the end of the year. I already have all the guests, because
Mhm.
during the course of the year, while I'm still in this season, I'm kind of like tapping into different people,
Mhm.
kind of like watching, even, like talking on the phone with certain people,
Yeah.
having conversations with people, in a community, right?
Right.
So and then I'm writing my names down,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I have them in a notebook, and I'm like, all right, Holy Spirit,
Yeah. Yeah.
who do you who is going to be my guest for next year?
Right.
Because now that I have these names, right,
Yeah.
and then and then I just reach out, to everybody, and I know that it's always God, because when I say no hesitation, most of the
Mhm.
time my guests always respond back immediately. I'm like, that's how I know nobody is nobody but Him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I mean, listen, that's the biggest thing, and that's you having him lead, right? Because you could easily been like, listen, I saw her right there, I saw him right there. I want them. And not even just go for it, right? You just send the email, do what you got to do before even like going to him. And
Yeah.
then now you got your wires all crossed and it's looking a little chaotic over there.
Yeah.
But now, because you are going to him and you're letting him lead, now it's like, yes, yes, yes. Okay, that's smooth. You know how smooth of the process that sounds like?
Right.
Comparing to like what we talked about earlier was like just being in chaos and like
Yep.
here, there, everywhere, and you wonder why things are not working. You know, gotta go to him first and
Gotta go to
gotta
Him.
work. So I really, and I've been on a guest on your podcast, and I mean, I done cried on your podcast, Jesus,
Yes.
and it was good though.
It was good.
I feel like, people who are really looking to do, because that part of that, even just being on your podcast is just part of the healing journey. It's part
Hmm.
of just being able to shed some layers, right? Shed whatever has been on our backs, we've been holding on to for the longest, but you're doing it in front of people. And
Yeah.
that takes courage. And the thing about it is I commend everybody, even you, for just being the first one, but then having everybody else just do it as well. And it takes for you to do that so they can be comfortable. And again, it goes back to what you said, like, well, if I could do it, they could do it. And so, and everybody else saying the same thing in unison. So it's like it's just a beautiful thing that you've created, and that is really blossoming, and I know it's going to be bigger and better every season. So I'm excited. You're like
Thank
on
you.
season 3.
Yeah, I'm on season 3 now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
About to be season 10. You already
Right.
know before you know it.
Period.
So I know we've been talking for a little while now. You and I can talk for like 2 hours. This
I
podcast
know.
is
Well,
be
yeah, you already know,
long,
Ashley.
but
You already know.
I'm gonna cut this a little bit. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? And we're gonna go into our next segment, which is the empowerment EP segment. If you don't know, it's already I'm going to ask you right now to pick 3 songs, right, that have been part of your journey currently, that really is a source of inspiration and strength for you during this time of your journey. Now if you can't pick 3, one is just fine, but name your 3 songs.
Okay. So the one that as soon as you said songs, the one that immediately came to me was it's called Made Away by Travis Green.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, that was one of my like go-to songs. I remember like, every time that song came on, I would just weep,
Mm.
right? Because, like the words is just so powerful. Right.
Mm.
My second song would be You Will Win
Ooh.
by Jacqueline Carr. That is I remember actually for the first time when I heard this song, I had to, like in 2017, 2018, a part of like my therapy was I had to go to sleep with music in my ear. Right.
Mm.
And it was always like gospel music, right? Because my brain just would not shut down. Like it was always, and I was just so stressed out.
Mm.
And that it was kind of like on like it was like on YouTube, so it was like kind of like just playing any song, and I literally heard that song while I was sleeping, and I woke up singing it, but I couldn't find it anymore, and then it came back up, and then that was just like one of my songs of that I will win.
Yeah.
Right, so I always that's one of my go-to songs too, as
Yeah.
well. And then another one of my songs is called Closer, and I always forget who it's by.
By
It's
Nino.
no.
Say nah.
I mean, listen, you already. I love a good um.
Listen, that was a little bop. That was a little
Yeah,
bop.
bro. I love that song though too. I love
Yes.
me some Neo. Neo is he's dope. I love
Mm.
music.
Yeah.
Because I love to dance.
Right.
Right. Gosh.
Come close
Oh
to
yes. I can't
me.
think of her name right now, and of course, and I can't find it.
Okay.
It's close. It's called close. It's just closer to my dreams.
Oh,
I take
oh
it
my gosh. I know what you're talking
higher
about.
and
Yes.
higher,
Yes.
closer
Closer
to
to
my
my dream.
dreams.
I
When you
love that
really
song.
listen to the words of that song,
Yes. I actually I was just using that on my Insta story. Um
really,
like yeah, when the last episode or so dropped and I was promoting it. Yeah, I love that song. That's from the movie though.
it
Um
is.
what movie did they use that in? I
I
forgot.
can't remember.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about though. I'm sure they know what you're talking about. But that yeah, that's definitely one right there that I would say too is like very empowering. I'm like, yup. I'm
Is.
like, no matter how difficult it may be or seem right now, I'm like, I'm just that much closer. Like that
Yes.
much closer.
Yes.
I love your song choices, man. I love them.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I think it's, and I don't think I've said this on another podcast episode, but the reason why I love this segment so much too is because like you reminded me, you were saying that you were playing music while you were sleeping. And it's so important what we listen to is because of our subconscious mind, right? We take all of this information in from what we eat, from what we watch on TV, what we listen to,
Yeah.
how are we speaking to ourselves and how we take what others are saying to us, right? We internalize all that. So it's
Hmm.
important to make sure that with your, especially with the music, man, like yes, I love me a little trap music. I love me a
Right.
little, you know,
Little house music.
something. All that music is great, but
Yeah.
if you're feeding yourself that every day, like all the time, what is that doing to your spirit? What is that doing for your soul? Like, to your mind, right? And you wonder why especially with the rap nowadays, is all about it's violence. It's all over the place. Let me just say that.
Yeah. Right.
But it's just like, just give you some really soul good music, like some feel good music
Yeah.
that you really, that's going to get you pumped up and ready to. It's about really just getting down to and checking yourself about what you're listening to and what you gravitate to, because it's either going to make or break you. I
Yeah.
believe. So
Mm-hmm.
I thank you for sharing those top three. As I said before in the last podcast episode, I'm going to pile all of these songs on a playlist. So I'm going to share it
Oh,
to the Divine Glow audience. And yeah, it's going to be something that's going to just live on Apple Music, hopefully Spotify, but definitely Apple Music. So if you are ever in the mode to like that you really need empowerment, all of the guest songs will be on this playlist, including mine. And you could get some really, really popping energy just off the
yeah.
playlist.
That's dope. I
Yeah.
love it.
So we're gonna jump into our next segment, which is shine a light on them. So you could, right?
Oh,
I just need some music. I don't have, but it's okay. But I want you to really take the time out to shout out. It could be a person or people, it could be a group of people that you want to show gratitude for part of your journey that really has, uplifted you and give you the strength that you needed on for your personal growth and or spiritual growth.
um, so there's three people that come to mind right now, right? Um, and the three people that come to my mind, the first person is I want to give a big shout out to my husband, because he has been a huge part of my journey, right? Like I'm talking about like huge part of my journey. And I just honor that he honors me as his wife, right? But also his best friend. Um, and the journey has not been easy for us. We're actually still learning. We're still learning ourselves, so we can be better for each other.
Yeah,
Right. And the fact that we're able and willing to do that just says a lot.
yeah,
Right. So definitely want to, give him a shout out. Because he has definitely been my front, my back, and my side.
mm,
Um, the next person that I would want to give a shout out to would be my mentor, who is also one of my pastors at my church. She has also been Pastor Lavelle Cook. She has also been a huge part of, me tapping into being my true authentic self.
yeah,
Right. She is one of, the people that holds me accountable. Right. And I just, she doesn't just allow me just to say something that maybe sound good. Right. So I've learned that kind of from her with, like taking that pause. Right.
mhm,
And really not saying what I think somebody wants to hear, but really meaning what I'm saying. Right.
right,
Like say what you mean and mean what you say. That's the
hmm,
type of mentor she is. Right. And that's even the type of leader that she is. Um, and then the last person that I can think of, because I know you just said three, because I can go on, the list can go on a little bit, but I'm just keeping three. Right,
yes,
which is my spiritual father, who is also my pastor, my apostle, my bishop. He wears a whole bunch of hats, but at the end of the day, he just says, I'm Jeff, right? Because that's the name that he was born with. Like, he doesn't go with all them titles. But he has also been a huge asset, in my life too as well. Somebody that I can really kind of like just call on, and he's not intimidated, about how great people say I am, or how excellent I am. Like he gives me the real, the raw, and the uncut. And sometimes it hurts, but it's necessary. And that's why, I am, I have grown into, being able to, again, be my authentic self, too, as well. Yeah, so those are the three people that I would, give a shout out to. And then there is one more person, which he should have actually been first, but that's God. Big shout out
yeah,
to God, because without him, I wouldn't even had those 3 people to even thank. So he
Right.
is actually the first
Right.
one that I give a shout out to. I had to go back to that because as I was talking, I'm like, nah, he's the
Yeah.
first one. Because without
Yeah.
him, I wouldn't have had those 3 to shout out. I wouldn't even be able to sit here on this platform.
Right. Right. That's beautiful. Shout out to all the beautiful people in your life. I have to say, shout out Mr. Steve. Shout out Mr. Steve. All right, I'm gonna move on. But I just had to say it. But I just want you to end off here with any advice that you have for our listeners today about just unmasking and living authentically. If for someone who's maybe listening who may be, I don't know, maybe feeling confused, maybe like, I don't really know, I'm not ready yet. Like, what advice would you give them about maybe masking for the first time and just walking that path of authenticity?
I'm pausing because I feel like this is so important, right? Because this can be, a pivotal moment for someone, right? That's really making a decision that, you know what, I no longer want to live this way anymore. Right? But the first thing that really comes to my mind is you really got to be honest with yourself. You really got to do some self reflection and then just not be afraid to reach out to somebody, right? Whether that be me, whether that be somebody that you are, maybe a friend, maybe a leader, maybe Ashley,
Mhm.
right? Because this journey, you can't do it alone. It's not a journey. It's not a journey that you actually should do alone because it's
Mhm.
hard. It's uncomfortable. But in all that uncomfortability, there's still beauty for your ashes, right?
Mhm.
But you got to be willing to tap in and be able to speak up about what's going on, what's bothering you. So the first step is to be honest with yourself and say, "Am I ready? Do I want this?" Right?
Mhm.
Um, and then you gotta you gotta find somebody. You gotta find somebody. We are losing so many people because people are suffering in silence, too
Mhm.
afraid of what other people may say.
Yeah.
I'm here to attest to it. I did it. But I'm standing here today to tell you that I was willing to say, you know what? I give I give myself away and I'm not going back. I'm moving forward. So what that means is, listen, I got to find somebody that I
Mhm.
got to talk to cuz I can't do this by myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not alone. That's
Yeah.
what I'm going to tell the people. You are not alone,
Yeah.
but you got to want to do the work because
Mhm.
it's uncomfortable.
Mhm.
But the uncomfortability is taking you up.
Yeah. Wow. That was beautiful. I love that advice. I pray that whoever needs to hear it, it resonates with and they take it to heart and make the step that they need to take. Thank you so much again for joining us here on the Your Divine Glow podcast. I had such a great time.
I did. This was beautiful, Ashley. Again, like I said, I just thank you. And I'm just proud. I'm proud that, we're all, just doing it, right? We're all putting action behind our yes, right? And in so
Mhm.
many different ways on so many different levels.
Yes,
Right. But it's a beautiful thing to see because if I win, you win. If you win, we all win.
we all win.
Like, so this is beautiful, and I, like you said, my season 10, girl, you season 20, 25, 30. Okay, period.
I appreciate you, man. Well, from your mouth to God's ears. Listen, we gonna be
Listen,
here. But
Touch and agree. Touch and agreeing.
let the people know where they can find you and connect with you.
Awesome. Yeah. So on Instagram, it is UTCM_podcast. For Facebook, it is Unmasking the Covered Me, or my personal Facebook page, which is Nyesha Bridges, Nyesha Bridges, Bridges. And I also have a YouTube page too as well, called Unmasking the Covered Me, too as well.
Yes, sir. So we're going to put all of this information down in the show notes for you to click on and check out her podcast, her everything, all the channels. Make sure you follow her and make sure that you tap into what she's got going on, because it's very beautiful, inspirational, and of course, she wants you to live authentically. So,
Come on.
listen. So before I come on out of here, I want to remind you guys that I, as the Divine Glow Coach, am offering free exploration calls. So if you're feeling inspired by today's episode and you're ready to bring your faith and business dreams into harmony, like, I invite you to come on in to my space. Take a step forward to book a complimentary exploration call with me. I will leave the link down in the show notes to schedule your call. It will be a chance for us to connect, uncover your unique path, and explore all the things that Divine Glow Coaching has to offer you on your journey. So don't miss out on this opportunity to take your business and mindset to the next level. I'm excited to chat with you, and I want to support you on your incredible journey. So without further ado, we gonna wrap this up, ladies. So until next time, let your divine glow shine, baby. See y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.